This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous good-looking friends. Settle in, because this video is going to be a doozy. Today, we're going to continue to keep ripping to shreds Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's Trash for Cash tour in Australia. You know, the one they're trying to sell as some noble cause-driven comeback to be a working royal again. So far, it's pure, unadulterated self-promotion, and the public sentiment? Well, we're straight up disgusted. People are just exhausted with the false PR spin and propaganda. The whole world is seeing right through the exploitation. Veterans, kids, women's shelters, men's health, all just props in the Sussex PR brand machine. Let's quickly recap the garbage that Harry and Meghan have been putting on in the circus. Day 1 and 2 of this so-called Australian tour were nothing but a calculated, stomach-turning grift from start to finish. Pure exploitation wrapped in fake royal humility. We saw they kicked off in Melbourne with Harry and Meghan milking the Royal Children's Hospital for tear-jerking photo ops with sick kids. Then Meghan peeled off solo to a women's shelter to virtue signal community support before they both wrapped the day at the Australian National Veterans Art Museum using wounded vets and their families as props for the Sussex brand refresh. All of us can agree that this is not service in what Harry and Meghan are doing. It's scorched earth self-promotion at its most repulsive. So continuing on this Trash for Cash tour, we're seeing the height of hypocrisy. Today, Harry is off doing his solo victory lap with Invictus game stuff, and more importantly, likely getting paid for this Movember event at the Western Bulldogs headquarters. Don't get me wrong, Invictus is Harry's baby, literally the only thing he has left, but in this context, it's surely being weaponized. He's at the Australian War Memorial, last post-ceremony, schmoozing with the Indigenous veterans, hitting the Invictus Australia reception like it's his personal red carpet. Great, Harry, wave the flag, pat yourself on the back. But paired with the rest of this tour, it's just more self-promotion wrapped in what he would like to call service. He's not there for the wounded warriors first. He's there for publicity. He's there to remind everyone that he is the one that founded it, even though it was his family that helped him. Harry wants you to see him as the patron saint of resilience, and he has a purpose. And that is what he's trying to prove on this tour, with similar messaging with his paid participation in the Movember Q&A. Now, this is where Harry really messed up. Harry's at this men's health event talking about fatherhood struggles, being the best version of himself for his kids, and again, talking about his purpose. For those that don't know, Movember is about prostate cancer, mental health, suicide prevention, serious stuff. But from what I gather, Harry has turned it into his platform to make it about himself and trying to sell the crowd of being a present and involved father. His shtick? It's filled with deception. But in his attempts to sell the audience of how involved he is as a parent, he gives it all away. I don't know how long this lie is going to go on, but in my opinion, it's hanging by a thread after this. Let me show you how Harry royally effed up. In this clip, Harry begins talking about his discussion he had with his therapist in the UK before Archie came along. You know, the resource that he could have used to help Meghan, but instead went on Oprah and lied, saying he did not know who to turn to for help when Meghan was faking her suicidal ideation. Well, Harry admits he was in discussion with his therapist in the UK about having to take care of a kid.
The biggest tip that I was given actually from my therapist in the UK was just be aware of how you feel once the baby is born, because there is the understandable huge excitement when your child comes into this earth. But then after that, there are hours, days, weeks, for some guys months. Certainly for me, it lasted a couple of weeks, where you are wondering what to do. What can you do? Because the baby is probably breastfeeding, and you don't feel as though you have much of an active role in that. And because I was aware of it, because I was warned about it, that helped me massively, because I was like, okay, if I can't help him, then I'm going to help my wife. I'm going to help mum. And I'm going to constantly just over-offer.
We're going to go ahead and listen to this again, but I'm going to break down and highlight certain things that point in the direction that, yeah, Harry and Meghan used a surrogate.
The biggest tip that I was given actually from my therapist in the UK was just be aware of how you feel once the baby is born.
The big giveaway here for me, just in these few seconds, is Harry referring to the baby, not your baby. Once your baby is born, it is the baby. But then as you proceed to talk about the moment when your baby, not the baby, when your baby enters the earth, Harry begins to stumble like a bumbling idiot. And one thing to notice in this deception is as Harry's trying to deceive the audience, he looks up to the ceiling. He can't look the person in the eye as he's talking about the birth of his own child.
Because there is the understandable huge excitement when your child comes into this earth.
This indicates to me that he is lying. He can't look anybody in the face because he knows that this story that he's telling about this birth of the baby is not something that he was witness to. Have you ever noticed Harry never talked about saying, well, I was with my wife holding her hand and seeing this beautiful life come into this earth. Many fathers, if not all, who were witness to the miracle birth would say that hearing the first cries of their child impacted them emotionally. Harry's never once talked about that moment of hearing Archie cry for the first time. Neither has Meghan.
But then after that, there are hours, days, weeks, for some guys, months. Certainly for me, it lasted a couple of weeks, where you are wondering what to do. What can you do? Because the baby is probably breastfeeding.
He just gave it away again. What can you do? Because probably the baby, that's your baby, Harry. You should know whether or not your baby was breastfeeding with Meghan. Again, more lies being told here, and he's caught. The baby likely was breastfeeding with the birth mother that was not Meghan. And for you to say that, yeah, you're trying to figure out what you can do, well, obviously, if that baby is not really your baby but came out of someone else's vagina, you and Meghan had to figure out how do you bond with this baby and connect with it to make it yours to pull this whole scam off, which now makes a lot of sense if the baby that they presented to the world was really indeed a doll. Because let's be real here, if that baby was not really theirs and was fussing and crying because it was away from its real mother, they wouldn't want that in front of the cameras. And I really do think that Meghan thought this through to the nth degree where she said, oh no, if we take the baby from the birth mother and this baby starts crying and I can't control it because I'm not a natural mom, then what is the world going to think? It's all about the optics, all about the optics. And these two made sure that that situation didn't happen. Because what if, let's say they brought out the baby, not their baby, not his baby, but the baby to the public and it started crying and they couldn't console it or get it to stop crying, thus disrupting Meghan's press call and photo op. The last thing Meghan would want is for the attention to be on the baby instead of her. And we all know this.
And you don't feel as though you have much of an active role in that.
Well, if the baby was probably breastfeeding, then no, you would not have an active role in that, but you would know if the baby was breastfeeding. So the word probably, shows that you were uncertain whether or not Archie was breastfed, meaning you don't know what the birth mother was doing, which likely was not Meghan.
And because I was aware of it, because I was warned about it, that helped me massively, because I was like, okay, if I can't help him, then I'm going to help my wife. I'm going to help mum. And I'm going to constantly just over-offer.
Yeah, but Harry, you could help him by changing his diaper, rocking him to sleep. Like, what were you supporting Meghan with? Supporting her and trying to get the baby to bond with her? Because that's what it sounds like. I think this is it, folks. This deception fell apart with what he just admitted to. And it doesn't look good that the royal family is going along with this lie. But let me go ahead and show you this next clip because it gets worse. Now, in this little clip, what I read from this is that it's actually a confessional. Let's go ahead and go back through it.
You want to be everything you assume your kids want you to be. And also at the same time, without, so I think probably consciously, but also subconsciously, you're thinking, how do I parent my kid or kids the same way that I was parented as well?
Did you all catch that little slip up? Harry sure did, and course corrected immediately. Listen to this again.
How do I parent my kid or kids?
How do I parent my kid or kids?
The same way that I was parented as well.
You see how quickly Harry recognized what came out of his mouth? You know, just like the baby, these kids. And he quickly course corrected because that was a Freudian slip. And then to get up there and moan about how difficult life is, as if you really understand what everyday people go through and have to manage with their families and the stresses that they go through. This guy's so full of shit. Maybe those stresses that he's talking about is really about all of the deceit and nefarious activities that him and his wife have been up to. Yeah, I think it would be stressful if you have to keep up the appearances that those two children truly do belong legitimately in the line of succession. Yeah, it would be stressful if you have to constantly keep remembering all of these lies that are being told. All of what they're doing is just smoke and mirrors. I mean, I think we all see that. But to then go the step further and talk about how couples argue, but no, that's not him and Meghan because they have such a perfect relationship, just goes to show how unperfect this situation is. Take a listen.
And then another layer to it, which my wife and I regularly talked about, was the sort of what can be seen as, or actually turns out to be, conflict between couples. But don't worry, there was no conflict between us. But it was something that we regularly talked about because it was so interesting. I found it so interesting how he goes to work.
The more that they open their mouth, the more that we see the cracks. Harry, you're not fooling anyone. Just come clean and set yourself free, because that's the only way this is going to end. If this guy thinks chasing the money is the answer to all their problems, then he's got another thing coming to him, because you know the saying, more money, more problems. That's exactly what they're going to get, especially with this bitch wife that he's married to. Look at the latest from this trailer park trash showing up on Australia's MasterChef, I'm guessing.
We've had MasterChef royalty in the kitchen before, but no one like this. All the way from sunny California, please welcome to MasterChef Australia, the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan Markle!
It's so funny, too, that you keep saying Meghan Markle. You know I'm Sussex now.
Meghan
Like, I don't get it. Why are these people entertaining and giving the time to this vacuous, self-absorbed piece of shit? We're going to go ahead and stop right here. I'll be back a little bit later on. There's so much stuff coming out about these two that, like, I literally want to vomit, and I just need to take a break. But what do you guys think? Definitely let me know your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!
It was such a fraud.